Inside every one of us is a dream that's waiting to be uncovered, to be exposed, and to be stepped into. On this week's episode, we're covering a book called Chase the Lion, where the tagline is, if your dream doesn't scare you, it's not big enough. Hey, welcome to the Brian Wood Leadership Podcast, episode number 11, where we do all things to give you the confidence to lead well in whatever capacity that you lead in. I'm excited that you are here today. Merry Christmas to you and your family. I hope that you enjoy this time of the year, this season, the holidays. I hope that you get to spend some quality time with your family. And just remember, Christ is the reason for the season. And so, hey, let's jump in today. I have an exciting topic I want to cover. As you know, we've been doing my top 6 leadership books, and I'll say this as I have in every episode with these books. I am not trying to take someone's content and steal it and put my name on it. I have spent some time in these books wanting to pull principles out for our audience, and so I'll give credit where credit is due. Today, we are covering a book called Chase the Lion by Pastor Mark Batterson, and it is an incredible book. I want to share a little bit of a kind of a different flavor today, if you will. In the previous books, I've spent more time kind of pulling out very specific things out of the book. And today I want to go a little more principle driven. And so he covers these, but it's not like verbatim. You're not going to be able to read a chapter on the very specific things that I'm going to say, the words that I'm going to use, etc. But the principles are there, and I think they're important for us today. And so this is not a book review. And so I'm excited. Let's jump in. Chase the Lion. If your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough. Everybody has dreams inside of them. Some of us step into those. Some of us suppress those. Some of us run away from those. And so I want to give you 3 things today that I think will challenge you in this aspect of dreaming. Let me just say this before we get in. Sometimes I think people have this stigma around dreams, that it's weird, that it's some fairy tale, that I can't dream because it's unrealistic. And I saw a video the other day. Well, it's been some weeks back. I think it was on The Voice of a girl who, no, it wasn't on The Voice. It was one of the talent shows with Simon on it. But anyways, she wrote her own song. She was doing an original song. And the lyrics were so profound, and it essentially talked about how when we were kids, the dreams that we had were so realistic. The dreams that we had, we were so locked in on those, and they seemed as if nothing was impossible. And then all of a sudden we grow into young adults, and life happens, and we stop thinking and believing that those dreams can come true. We allow all the things around us to make a possibility seem impossible. And so I want to kind of jump into that a little bit today. And the first thing that I want to talk about in regards to chasing the lion, in regards to dreaming big, is get comfortable being uncomfortable. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. Dreams are uncomfortable. They're fun to think about. They're fun to dream about. But a dream is just a dream if there is no execution behind it. And so, excuse me, that's when things get uncomfortable. When we have this dream, we have this idea, everybody thinks it's crazy, we even think it's crazy, and the moment we start putting any type of meat on the bones, if you will, execution, strategy behind it, and begin to step into it at least the slightest bit, then we get really uncomfortable. And sometimes our dreams are shut down because we share it with somebody and they say you're crazy, and we believe that. And so I want to talk about being comfortable with being uncomfortable, and I'll share a story with you. A few episodes ago, I talked about my cowboy days, right? Yellowstone all the way. But anyways, part of my cowboy days, I was a bull rider, so I rode bulls, or at least got on the back of them. I wouldn't necessarily label myself as a bull rider, but I did ride bulls, so if that's enough, then that's it, I guess. But I was thinking about how uncomfortable it was riding bulls. And let me just say this, it never got comfortable, right? I didn't get comfortable being uncomfortable. I was scared to death every time that I got on them. Well, several months, maybe even a year and a half, 2 years into my bull riding days, there is a thing called a bullfighter. You may know it as the rodeo clown, right? Like there's kind of a difference. One of the rodeo clowns is just the host of the rodeo. All he does is tell jokes, and he's got a mic on, and he just has fun, and he entertains the audience. But the actual bullfighters, those are the guys who put their life literally on the line every time a bull comes out of the chute. And their job is to protect that cowboy from the bull basically destroying him and killing him when he gets thrown off. And so the cowboy gets off, the bull rider steps in, distracts the bull, gives the bull rider enough time to get up and get out of the arena, to get out of harm's way. And so I guess I got bored riding bulls. I don't know why, because that was enough adrenaline, but I decided I was going to be a bullfighter. And again, nothing professional. This is all country boy stuff back in the backwoods. Like nobody else would do it. And so we had to do it. And I was thinking about it. Didn't know how to get started. Well, one day we went to a practice bull riding. It was just a practice night. People were there riding, and we got there, and guess what? They didn't have a bullfighter. And so they asked, does anybody want to be a bullfighter? And I said, absolutely, I want to be a bullfighter. And so I jumped in, and I did pretty good. And so I started bullfighting a little bit. Here's the deal. Standing in front of a 2,000-pound animal who is mad, who has a flank wrapped around, or a rope wrapped around their flank, trying to kick it off, trying to get this guy off their back, they are some mad animals, and there is nothing comfortable about doing that. But what I learned was that if I got into the arena with this bull, and if I got comfortable being uncomfortable, I actually was safer than if I just stayed uncomfortable the whole time. And here's what I mean. That may sound a little bit confusing, but if I was in there, a bull came out, cowboy got thrown off, and I ran towards that bull, distracted him for a moment, and then got uncomfortable and turned around and took off running, guess what was going to happen? That bull was going to catch me, he was going to hit me from behind, and he was going to tear my little head off, right? And so what I had to learn is, how do I take this feeling of uncomfortableness and stop this flight or fight feeling, right? So adrenaline kicks in, epinephrine, norepinephrine, you have flight or fight. You choose one. If you flight, you're running. And guess what? He's going to catch you and you're going to get destroyed. Or if you fight, you stay in the battle. We have that in all aspects of life when our adrenaline goes up. And how that connects to the story is, as the bull was coming, if I would choose to fight instead of flight, and when I say fight, I use that term from the emotional, hormone, epinephrine type aspect. Not I'm actually fighting a bull, like with my hands, but I got comfortable being uncomfortable, and I am a 195-pound man facing a 2,000-pound bull. I have 2 legs. He has 4. Guess what? I can actually maneuver a lot better than he can. I can turn quicker than he can. And what I realized, that if I didn't run, if I actually stayed in there and I just took a couple steps one way and take a couple steps another way, he could never touch me because he couldn't move like I could. But I had to get comfortable being uncomfortable, and I did that for a while, and I think I was a pretty decent bullfighter. I saved some cowboys. I did get knocked down a few times and beat up a couple times, but I had to realize, what do I got to do to face this level of uncomfortableness instead of running away? What do I got to do to choose to fight instead of flight? All right? What in the world does this have to do with dreaming? Listen, on episode, I think it was number 8, we talked about chasing failure. Our dreams oftentimes scare us. And if they don't, as the book says, they're not big enough. But what do we do when we face that dream that we know is big? We know it scares us. We don't know what to do. And every time we want to try to step into that dream, every time we want to try to pursue that dream, we get scared and we run the other way. We've got to get uncomfortable, or comfortable being uncomfortable. And so what does that look like? I'm not going to go through a list of things and tell you what your dreams are. Here's what I want you to hear. Whatever that dream is that you've been thinking about, that you've been sitting on, that every morning or every week or every so often, it just keeps coming up in your mind. It pops up. It doesn't go away. Step into it. It's going to be uncomfortable. But if you can get comfortable being uncomfortable, that's when you begin to step into that dream that you have. And I think so often, as I mentioned earlier, we hear voices from the outside. We share it with our family member. We share it with our friend. They're like, no, that'll never work. And we allow that uncomfortable feeling of somebody shooting down our dream to make us run away from it and be fearful. Or the moment we sit down and we really analyze and look at all the data and look at all the information and look at all the steps that it's going to take to step into that dream, we get fearful because we don't understand it. We don't know how it's going to work. We can't comprehend it all. We can't make sense. And instead of stepping into that and being comfortable with being uncomfortable, we allow that feeling of being uncomfortable to push us away. And so I don't want to harp on this. I don't want to, say more than needs to be said. I just want to keep this very simple and plain. Listen, your dreams that are massive, that are scary, that are big, that are audacious, they are going to be uncomfortable. And until you get comfortable being uncomfortable, you will never be able to fully step into that dream. And so your challenge today for this point is, what dream do you have that you're running away from that you need to run to? What is it that makes you feel so uncomfortable? And instead of embracing that and being comfortable with that feeling, you will run away from it so you no longer have to feel that sense of being uncomfortable. All right? So let's get comfortable being uncomfortable. Number 2, and this kind of goes together, and this is actually a chapter title in the book. It's called The Door to the Future. The Door to the Future. And I'll set this up for just a moment. I believe that oftentimes our dreams, let's say we do get this sense of being comfortable with being uncomfortable, and we actually take a few steps into pursuing that dream. Okay? I think sometimes we stop right there because the dream is at step 100. All right, let's just use basic numbers here. Let's say the dream is at step 100. You take step 1, 2, and 3. But through those 3 steps, you can't see or understand or even imagine how or what needs to take place or how all of this is going to come together in order to get to step 100. And so then you go back to step 1 and you back out. What if step 1, 2, and 3 was actually the door to the future? Meaning, what if steps 1, 2, and 3, even though you can't see everything in order, even though you can't see step 4, 5, much less 96, 97, 98, what if those 3 steps were putting you on the trajectory, on the path to stepping into your dream? One of the most powerful stories, and there's so many of them in regards to dreams and startup businesses, et cetera. And sometimes dreams, in the context of this, we're talking about specific dreams, but a lot of times dreams are in this, seated in our heart, and we can't even put our finger on it until the door to the future begins to open. Here is a great story, Airbnb. If you know that story, you know how powerful it is. If you don't, let me just give you the quickest version of it. I think it was back in 2007 in San Francisco or LA, somewhere on the West Coast. There were a couple guys who had a place, who had an apartment. They were struggling to make rent, and there was a big conference in the area. All the hotels were booked for this conference, and so they decided to take air mattresses, put them in their townhome or apartment or wherever they were staying, and allow guests to come in and rent an air mattress. And from that little step, out of necessity, they had this massive dream, and now Airbnb is worth $31 billion. $31 billion, all because, and this story doesn't fully fit our context because I don't know that they had a dream. Let's start an Airbnb. Let's start, and there's the name. It was air, bed, and breakfast, right? Because of an air mattress. And now we still have that name that carries this $31 billion business now. And again, I can't say they were dreaming that, but those steps that were birthed out of a necessity to pay their rent opened the door to a dream that has now set them and their grandkids and their great-grandkids and their great-great-grandkids for life financially because of this business, because of this open door. And so, again, a little bit out of context, but I think you see the principle here. What is it right now that you could do that may not necessarily fit the dream that you see 4 or 5 years down the road, but that are going to open the door to the future, that are going to be step 1, step 2, step 3, that are going to, open more possibilities, more opportunities, be able to get your feet wet. Just start taking those. And yes, it's going to be uncomfortable. Yes, you're going to have to get comfortable being uncomfortable, but if you begin to take those steps, chasing that dream that you have, there's no telling what door to the future you are opening. Let's chase those dreams. Let's chase the lion. Be a big dreamer. So the challenge is, what steps can you take right now that may open the door to the future for you pursuing and stepping into the dream that you have? And then number 3, and I want to say this one, and I made this a point because I don't want you to think that if you want to chase a dream that you can just live your life, haphazardly and don't count the cost, don't look at any risk versus reward. Again, be comfortable being uncomfortable, but also use wisdom. And so here is point number 3. How much is your dream worth? How much is your dream worth? And Mark Batterson talks a little bit about this in the book. I'll open with another story, or not open, but I guess kind of push this point in with the story of me having a dream to plant a church. And I believe that my dream was a calling as well, and I also believe that is true of you. I believe that the reason that you wake up and you think about this thing over and over and over again, it's not just some emotional thing that you think, oh, that would be a good idea. Typically, if it stays with you for a while, that dream is planted in your heart. I believe, again, faith-based podcast here, that God has planted that seed in your life, and He has set that aside for you to step into. It's the purpose, at least part of it, that He has for your life based off of your wiring, your network, your connection, your gifting, your personality. Like, it's for you, especially if you sit on this thing for years and it never goes away. And I knew that God was calling me to ministry. I felt that was my purpose. I felt that was my dream and my calling in life. And so at the time, I've been doing some volunteer stuff kind of on the side under other leadership. And this was in 2014. My wife and I, we had 2 kids. We were young, in our 20s, and we were both registered nurses for the government. And so we were working at an Army hospital. And when I look back at my life, where I was at that time, if I was to look back years back, I was literally living out my dream. Unfortunately, my dream was more of the American dream. I had everything that I ever thought I would have. I had a beautiful wife. I had a beautiful home. We had nice cars. We had incredible salaries. I had 2 beautiful and healthy kids. I'm like, what more could I ask for? And then I had this dream to go and impact the lives of teenagers. I knew the mistakes that I had made. I knew the things that I did. And I also recognized the people in my life who made an impact and influenced me to help shape me to the man that I was at that time. And that burden would not go away. I said, I've got to step into this. This is a dream of mine, to go and help teenagers and help their families and pour into them and help them to find their potential, their purpose, their value in life. And God, we felt that God had laid a city on our hearts, and it was Southport, North Carolina, down on the coast. And we had no idea why. We had no idea where. I wanted to go work at a church. And finally, in December of 2013, I ran across a guy who was about to plant a church there, starting at the beginning of the year. And we met, we clicked immediately. Vision was just all over his life and what he wanted to do with the church that he felt like God had called him to plant. And I was so excited. And I said, okay, I want to do it. Will you hire me? I'll be your best man. I'll do everything, to the best of my ability. I'll help carry out the vision. I'll help you any way I can. He said, man, I would love to have you on my team. I said, okay, let's talk. Like, what we're going to do here? What's the package? What kind of salary am I talking about? We got insurance. Like, what are we going to do? You're going to help me move? Like, and he said, man, I'll be honest with you. This is going to be a volunteer position. And my heart sank for just a split second. And then immediately it started beating again, harder and faster and more passionate than it ever could. And I told my wife, hey, we're going to do this. And we prayed about it. We sought some counsel and we said, let's do this. And let me tell you something. Everybody that I talked to said, you guys are crazy. You're going to leave your government jobs. You're going to leave the house that you had your kids in. You're going to leave the comfort of being around family and close to those. And you're going to go and you're going to move to a new city and help plant a church on a volunteer salary. And I said, yeah, we are. We absolutely are. Even my family told me that we were crazy. And again, my parents, they support me in everything. I had ministry leaders that were like, Brian, you sure about this? You sure this is what God wants you to do? And they called me crazy. And And again, I had some people who were in our corner. I'm not saying anything negative about those people who weren't. They were just trying to, make sure I knew what I was doing. 2 kids, a wife, and now I'm leaving a government job that I probably wouldn't be able to get back into. How are you going to provide for your family? Like, they were trying to speak wisdom. But what happened is, if I would have allowed that, if I would have listened to that, I would have missed out on the dream that God had for me. And so we packed up, we sold our house. Well, we actually had to rent it because it wouldn't sell, and we moved. And I became a volunteer youth pastor, and it was some of the best days of my life. And now, years later, because of me going to help plant a church and being alongside of someone, I learned a lot. And I had even more of a passion to plant a church one day. And in 2021, me and my best friend, we planted a church here in Chesapeake, Virginia. And that dream is still unfolding. And there's more to that dream. But here's the deal. I had to ask myself, what is my dream worth? How much is my dream worth? And I had to be willing to leave a triple-digit salary to go and step into that dream. Again, I'm not telling you to be dumb. I'm telling you to use wisdom, but I'm also telling you, don't allow anything in this world to stop you from chasing your dream. No price tag, no nothing. Again, faith-based, I believe that God is a provider, and he met every need that I ever needed to provide for my family while I was working for free, literally. And so I don't tell that story to toot my own horn. I don't tell that story to say, look at me. But I also don't want to tell stories that I'm not, willing to live out myself. And I'll just be honest with you now. I'm a church planter here, and, there's no triple-digit salary attached to that. But I love it, and I'm right where God wants me to be. And I believe that there's a dream inside of you, and you feel uncomfortable, not in a flight or fight way, but an unsettled way, in a way that you don't feel fulfilled doing what you're doing because you keep pushing down that dream. I don't know what that means for you. I don't know, what exactly it is you need to do. And I'm not here to tell you, quit your job and go chase a dream, go be a volunteer. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is there's a dream inside of you, and you need to chase it. You need to go chase the lion. And if that dream seems simple, if that dream makes sense, if that dream is easy to comprehend, you're not dreaming big enough. Go, dream, chase. Don't be afraid. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. There's something inside of you that nobody else has. There's a thing for you to step into that nobody else has stepped into. Listen, this isn't prosperity. This isn't name it, claim it, declare it. This is God has given each of us a dream in our heart. He's planted seeds in our life, and there's a special purpose behind it. And you've got to stop being comfortable living this safe life all the way to the grave. So many of us miss out on the things that we have the ability to do through the power of God, through the doors that are going to open, through the dreams that can be lived out, because we are so comfortable being safe. Now, what in the world does that have to do with leadership? Listen, it has everything to do with leadership. As you lead organizations, as you lead your family, as you lead your spouse, as you lead your kids, as you lead, that person who just looks up to you and you have influence over, show them what it looks like to dream big. Show them what it looks like to pull things out of them, push them to their highest potential. And it starts by showing them that, by living it out in your life. Do it. Don't be afraid. Go chase the lion. Go be a dream chaser, because through that, you can be a world changer. I hope this helps you. I hope that you can figure out how to apply that to your leadership. Again, don't be an idiot, right? But don't allow fear to squash your dream. Get uncomfortable excuse me, I messed that up a few times today. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. You never know what door to the future is being opened. And ask myself, how much is my dream worth? Am I willing to sacrifice? Am I willing to invest? Am I willing to put money here? Am I willing to sell this? Am I willing to move to a different place? Am I willing to sell the dream home that we just built a couple years ago because I know that I'm supposed to go here? Listen, that stuff will come later. And if it don't, you're going to be so fulfilled by chasing your dream, it's not going to matter. Listen, I'll finish with this. Be a dream chaser. That's it. It's simple. It sounds simple, right? And it is simple. but you can't let fear make it complex. Go chase your dreams. Go chase the lion. If your dream doesn't scare you, it's not big enough. I hope this added value to you. I hope that you're encouraged, motivated, and you have confidence to lead well in whatever capacity you have in regards to dreaming big. Listen, Merry Christmas to you and your family. I hope that you have an incredible time, an incredible week this week. If you are in the area, don't have a church home, I'm throwing a plug. Seven Cities Church. We are moving to Suffolk in Harborview January 8th. We would love to see you there. If you're far away, get plugged into a local church. They'll help you chase your dreams. I love you guys. I hope you have a great week. If you find this valuable, share it with somebody, tag it, and we'll see you next week on another bonus episode on the Brian Wood Leadership Podcast, where we give you the confidence to lead well.